I was thinking like you could just get one of those new 24-inch iMacs that came out, $12.99, and that's the base model of those. So 12? Do the math on they're $12.99. They just got released. They're not even out yet. They'll be out at the end of this month. They're 24-inch screens, M1 processor, so same processor. Better webcam, a 1080p webcam, which is better than like my MacBook Pro webcam.
Well, see the thing is, that would be awesome, but then I'm doing what I don't want to do, which is spend a ton of money.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
like on something like this, I'm always thinking, what's practical?
I got you. But what I'm saying is, like, if you look into it and you end up spending, if you can't find a cheap monitor, if you can't find a cheap keyboard and mouse, like that you're happy with, and you're already close to that price point, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
It might be worth it just to go to the iMac. Just consider it.
That I'm happy with. That's the key point that really drives it home, because I could find a monitor and this and this and this, but is it going to be? Is it a 5K monitor?
It's 4.5K. Yeah.
God damn! For me to get a 24-inch 4.5K screen and a keyboard, you got a good point. You got a good point.
Yeah.
Damn. God damn it.
Yeah. To get that quality, to be spending that around that, but. And you're not going to spend $12.99. You're going to get a discount on that because I'm going to hook you up with that. But just think about it.
Okay.
Or I'll do some looking around. They discontinued the 21.5-inch 4K iMacs because that have the Intel chip in them, and maybe we could find you a really good deal on one of those since they're discontinued now.
Intel.
But the M1 is the shit. That's kind of I kind of want to steer you towards the M1 because it is the shit.
I'm sold on the M1. I watched the video of the M1 MacBook Air outperforming a 2019 Intel i9.
Yeah.
By a long shot.
There's a ton of those videos out there. It's crazy.
And no vent. The guy put the laptop up to the mic, and then he put the MacBook Pro up to the mic, and you could hear it sitting on the table. And that's the problem I have, is the vent, the cooling fan on mine is just always just going crazy. But yeah, whenever I'm mixing, I have to bounce and then do mix number 2. Like I have to do some plugins, bounce, plugins. That way I'm not running all the plugins, and then I got to get everything bounced and final. If I want to change anything, I have to unhide the track, go back to. But it's to bypass the CPU. And then I still have CPU problems when I add a reverb, and I'm trying to adjust while listening when I get everything, because that's the key part, is like, okay, now I got it, let me play and adjust in real time, and I get these literally like 1 or 2 second windows, disk overload, and that's how I mix, and it takes forever.
Oh my god, Dillon, you definitely need a new computer. I can't believe you've been mixing like that for this long.
It is what it is. I mean, sometimes I get a good run through, but I guess as the RAM builds up and I got a lot of stuff going, it starts to do that towards the end of my, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
When I got to reboot the computer and then
clear the RAM. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely limited, but clear the RAM. Yeah.
Well, it's not going to be a problem for much longer.
And the other thing I'm thinking is, if I get the $699 one, I can slowly build up to stuff I'm happy with.
Yeah.
Because it's not that I ultimately don't want to spend $12.99. It's that I need it now.
Yeah.
I need it yesterday because I got projects sitting in here. I got videos to bounce, and like, it's just getting to that point where, like, every week when I make the video and stuff and edit the audio, I got beach balls. It's like
party. It's a party.
Yeah, it's a party, and it's like, I'm not even doing the son of a gun record. I'm just bouncing a mic audio over like a grainy video. It's like there's no way I'm gonna do this, so I got to get it now.
No, yeah, I understand. Well, let me know when you're ready. We'll do it. Like I said, in the text, just got to give me a call and we'll line it up.
Word. So how you been, man? What's been up? How's everything been going?
Been all right, man. Just working a lot. Work is we finally got back kind of full swing into things, so which is a good thing. I guess it's more signs that society is moving more towards a bit of normalcy again.
I'm,
Um,
I find funny you say that because it's happening here too in Denver, and I'm the mask guy because I'm usually on my job, walking in like getting a dog or something. It's like I walk into a restaurant the other day, it was packed, no distancing, no masks, except the people standing, and even some people walking didn't have the mask, but I was on my job, so I had my mask. And people were looking at me, and I was like, "Fuck! Right now, I'm the mask guy."
You're the mask guy. You're the guy that's like, oh my god, why aren't you wearing a mask?
And then I came to the conclusion in my head while waiting, like, this is going to take forever. I'm just going to cancel this one.
So you
Like,
just canceled the order just because you didn't want to be the mask guy?
I didn't cancel the order.
Oh.
I canceled myself as the one to pick it up because I could tell it wasn't ready and was going to be a while, even just to get help. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So okay, let me move on. So I left, and I was thinking, fuck, everybody watching me thinks I dipped out because I don't want to be in. It's like, man,
he was so uncomfortable with his man, he just left.
man, I was like, fuck, I should have stayed.
Oh, the mask thing is fun, man. I had an experience in my store the other day that I was helping this couple out and they didn't have masks on. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. I'm not the mask police. I'm not gonna freak out on you. So I walked their product up to to have someone ring them up because I don't ring shit up and stuff in there. So I talked to one of the guys and he's like, hey, I was like, hey man, you mind just getting this rung up for me? And then the customers are right behind me. He's like, with them in earshot, he's like, do they have masks? I'm like, no, they probably don't. And he's like, oh, okay, they got to go. I can't check them out. They got to go up front. And the customer's like, you're not gonna check me out because we don't have a mask on. It's like, no, I'm not checking customers out that don't wear masks. Meanwhile, the motherfucker is telling us, and then the customer's like, okay, hey dude, you realize your mask is like halfway below your fucking nose right now, right? So you're not gonna ring me up and you're gonna be the mask police, but you're not even wearing your fucking mask right. It was like,
yeah,
you want to be the fucking mask police, but then his shit was like way down here. His nose is hanging out, and this is one of the employees at the store, by the way.
what
Like,
an
idiot.
idiot.
Like, all right, dude. Like, I get it. Like, technically, you're not wrong, right? We can't force you to fucking help customers that don't have a mask on, right? And he's a little bitch that ran to HR. I hope he doesn't watch this podcast, but yeah, he ran to HR to call HR to tell them that the store was making him help customers without masks and shit. But he's not even wearing his fucking mask right, like, throughout the day, and he wants to be the mask police to everybody. It's like, all right.
Yeah, I got mass policed by a guy. I think I told the story. I had to say something because he was like, I'm going to need you to wait outside. And it was freezing as fuck. And while I was waiting outside for an order, he was inside talking and shit with their mask below the nose.
It's
And,
like,
and I couldn't wait inside. And the order was late. So I knew they were just fucking talking. So I had to get involved and start some shit and say, I got to wait in the cold because of the mask. You're not even wearing it. And he was like,
yeah.
sir, okay, sir, friend. He called me friend. Okay, friend. Okay, friend. Okay,
Right.
just need you to stay outside. It's like, I'll stay outside, but I'm just going to let you know I know you're full of shit.
Yeah, it's like, I don't mind. I'll wear the mask, like, make people feel comfortable, whatever. Like, but I'm not gonna be the mask police about it. I'm not gonna yell at you. I'm not gonna help you at my job because you don't have a mask on. I'm sure I'll keep my distance or whatever. Like, I'll be safe, but I'm not gonna be a dick to you because you don't feel the need to wear a fucking mask.
Yeah.
All these people walking around with this little bit of power they have that they can fuss at you for not wearing your fucking mask.
And this is perfect because we can just start right in with the article. The MIT researchers say that time spent indoors increases the risk of COVID at 6 or 60 feet. So basically, social distancing and masks indoors don't matter.
They don't work. I don't have that article pulled up. I sent that to you after the last one because I read it, and I just thought it was so ridiculous. Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely crazy. Basically,
Basically, if you're inside and you're breathing the same air, you're breathing the fucking same air, whether you're 6 feet or 60 feet away apart, right? Is that the gist of the article?
yeah, and the study that they're referring to somewhere in here was that inside there's so many factors. If someone's breathing, eating, dancing, singing, if you're wearing a mask, if you're not, if there's ventilation, if there's filtration, there's so many factors.
Look at the third paragraph down. We argue there really isn't much of a benefit to the 6 foot rule, especially when people are wearing masks. Since everyone in the room is breathing the same air, it really has almost no physical basis because the air a person is breathing while wearing a mask tends to rise and comes down elsewhere in the room. So you're more exposed to the average background than you are to a person at a distance.
Yeah, so basically you fester in a room with all the air, and it doesn't matter how far away you stay. You're going to be breathing. So, I mean, he literally says in this article,
And he says without mask, the 6 feet would provide some additional protection against COVID-19 versus 3 feet. So is that saying that with a mask, it's making it irrelevant?
without a mask, 6 feet would provide some additional protection against COVID versus 3 feet. I guess he's just saying, being physically further away will technically help you because you're physically further away. I think that's all he's saying.
Yeah.
But because if you wear a mask, he said it'll filter things, but you still have a plume of smoke. And when you're inside, that is still mixing over the course of time because it's about how long you're inside. 30 minutes, an hour and a half. It's fine. It's really long periods of time, like nursing homes where people are 24/7 are the worst, and schools. But if you're in a room for 15 minutes or 60 minutes, it doesn't matter. The longer you're in there is the key.
The greater the chance. You're right. It says in that next couple paragraphs down, the important variable CDC and the World Health Organization guidelines have overlooked is the amount of time spent indoors.
Yeah. And that mixed with, so if it's a movie theater, you don't need to socially distance. You need to make sure you have ventilation and filtration to keep it clean for the hour and a half. If it's a restaurant, filtration, ventilation, everyone's eating and talking. So, but it's not socially distancing because he said at the end of the article, outside, he said, I'm comfortable, honestly, with saying that 3 feet is very safe of social distancing outside.
Yeah.
And no mask. So because outside, it just gets taken away in the wind. It's filtration. I mean, all this is basic stuff, but to hear these MIT researchers coming to this conclusion now this is not acknowledged is very reminiscent of the faulty studies, faulty data in Boris Johnson locking down UK. Remember that article?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
We have all this new information about how the social distancing rules, these lockdowns, are not necessary. They're not any good for public safety. Yet, are we going to see these corporations? Are we going to see these places start to walk these rules back?
Yeah, and the damage is already done. People are already scared. Even places that are walking it back. In Denver, I noticed it a lot because the places in Denver that are more open are associated with more conservatives. And that bothers me because someone that I'm closely acquainted with here that plays music said that, there's a lot of shows going on in Parker, which is more conservative.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, what about our show this weekend in central Denver? Is that one not conservative? How does this make any sense? And then at the same time, it's like, thank God for conservatives because we have shows and we're in business.
Isn't that so wild that
like if it wasn't,
but even the fact that you're considered a conservative if you are a proponent of not locking people down, not not causing people to be unable to go out and do their jobs or go out and socialize and stuff like that. You would think that that would almost be a conservative position, right? Follow the government's orders. Yeah. But it's the other way around now. It's like the liberals, are the ones who want you to follow the government's orders, stay locked down.
It's the new.
Don't meet. Yeah, it's crazy.
Neoliberalism is the new conservatism. I forgot who said it. Some president like Ronald Reagan or something said that fascism will come in the form of liberalism or something like that.
It's just ass backwards to me. It's like
it's by design. It's on purpose.
So now you have people that are even something like playing a show like, oh, that venue's a conservative venue because
a person in a band that's playing those shows and benefits from, and then has a show the following weekend in central Denver where it's not conservative, and it's like people are still, they politicize it, and then when I say something, they're like, oh, it's not really political. This is literally what happens. Yeah, but it's not really a political thing. It's about science. Like, no, it absolutely is political.
Wait, so they said it's about science?
Yeah. Like so
what was their point? What was the point they were trying to make? That it's okay to play the show in the non-conservative place because it's safer, because it's not a conservative area? Like what was their conservatives scientific point they were trying to make?
Conservatives don't give a fuck is what it concludes to. They just don't give a fuck. Conservatives, they just don't give a fuck at all. They just don't and rightly so they don't. But that's not all of them. And it's not why conservative places are opening, because they don't give a fuck. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's based on science too, just not the science they get from their safe sources. I think it's about social safety because, like the Central Denver show, it's not conservative, but people give a fuck, so it's going to be safer and it's more okay socially. But they don't give a fuck in conservative places, so it's not based in science. That's
and this is the person saying to follow the science. Yet they're obviously not following. They're following the science from March of 2020, like when we didn't know shit about this virus.
Yeah, and there's tons of science to back what people do when they reopen their business or participate.
Yeah, has Texas seen a huge spike in cases?
No, actually,
I'm legitimately asking. Have you seen this spike in cases?
You haven't seen that? Since Texas and Mississippi ended the mandates, their cases have dropped. And Fauci couldn't explain it when he was asked on TV. You didn't see that?
Yeah, I heard. I didn't see it. I heard about it. I forget what podcast. It might have been a Rogan or it might have been a tinfoil hat podcast or something. But yeah, Fauci was basically stating, it's because the people in Texas are behaving. They're behaving.
Yeah, that was the explanation I had brought up to a friend, and his answer was vaccines. It's because they have vaccines. I was like, well, why couldn't Fauci make that connection?
Right. Well, yeah, and then if everyone we should just end the lockdown like right now. We have enough vaccines to give fucking everybody. So the people
that's the point of the vaccine.
The people that want to get vaccinated, that are afraid, should get vaccinated, and the people that want to just take the risk can go out and take the fucking risk. If they get sick, they get sick.
And here's
it's like
what Bazant said.
Why are we still living in March 2020 of last year? Why are people pushing for that? Why are people like? It's like they're mad at you if you don't have that view. Like we should stay locked down.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
It's a weird thing, but on the positive side, I can see people who I connect with better, and it's people that don't have a mask on the sidewalk and don't go to the other side of the road, actually smile and still say, hey, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, but the people. So what Bazant said, this MIT researcher, he said, oftentimes the space is large enough, back to social distancing and masks indoors. Oftentimes the space is large enough, the ventilation is good enough, the amount of time people spend together is such that those spaces can be safely operated even at full capacity. And the scientific support for reduced capacity in those spaces is really not very good. I think if you run the numbers, even right now for many types of spaces, you'd find that there's not a need for occupancy restrictions.
Mhm.
And that's the science. That's the other science that's not talked about. Those
And
are the
this is
researchers and people that go missing and lose funding and get censored and don't get invited on mainstream talk shows and don't get their books on the front aisle of featured New York Times bestseller at Barnes & Noble like Cuomo did, How to Be a Leader in a Pandemic, on the aisle, this put right there, New York Times bestseller, and it's just out to be sold. Like, what the fuck? And he's the one that covered up killing people in the nursing homes, sending COVID patients to nursing homes, of which this science says nursing homes are actually the worst because lack of ventilation and time spent together. Like, that's the key, is ventilation and time spent together, not distancing. Isn't that wild how this world works like that?
it's wild, and it's infuriating.
I know,
actually.
right?
It is infuriating, and it's infuriating that people do not put these pieces together. They don't see it. They don't.
I remember when
And they will go and watch Cuomo on CNN and listen to him and clap and yay and good job, and he's such a great. He's responsible for how many deaths from his decision to ship those patients back to the nursing homes?
Thousands. I keep wanting to say 15,000. Can you look that up on your fast computer?
Yes, I can.
I bet I can find it. My 2010.
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Share that screen. I think we're going to be done with COVID mask talk in a second. We just wanted to get through this article that we had while it was relevant to when we started the conversation. Because just like I don't want to be the mask guy when I walk into a restaurant like I was the other day, I also don't want to be the alt-right domestic terrorist who can't stop talking about how he hates masks on his podcast.
No.
On his
conspiracy podcast. More than 172,000 residents and employees in nursing homes and long-term care facilities.
Can you share it?
Yeah, hold on. All right. Now, I don't know. I just pulled this article up, so I don't know if this is just in New York or not. Okay, yeah. So they have 172,000 residents, employees of nursing homes and long-term care facilities have died of complications from COVID. New York leads all states in such deaths with more than 15,000.
Yeah, 15,000.
15,000. So basically, the issue was a policy issued in March 2020 that ordered nursing homes to take back residents who had been discharged from hospitals after being treated for COVID-19. So yeah, Mr. How to Be a Leader in a Pandemic, bestseller in Barnes & Noble, Mr. Rockstar, Mr. Meatball, like Tim Dillon calls him.
Yeah, and at the same time...
That dude can fuck off.
Yeah. And at the same time, there's science that says you shouldn't do that. You should leave the economy open and just keep people healthy with vitamin D and better food. They're offering free donuts and beer with proof of your passport. It's like, dude, this is proof of your vaccine. Yeah. So crazy.
You'll be disappointed in me. I did have I got the first dose.
No. How did you feel?
No, I'm fine.
Which brand did you get?
Pfizer.
Okay. Rock hard. Right there.
The only reason I got it, and it was just for my wife, because I have a show June 12th. It's 4 days before the baby's born. It's going to be fucking packed. Like, I expect there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of people there.
Nice.
And she didn't want me playing it unless I had a vaccine. And I was like, well, I want to play a show. Fuck it. We'll see what happens. Right? So.
Damn.
And I'm going to have to get it for work anyway, because they're already emailing us saying, please get the vaccine, please get the vaccine, please get the vaccine. So they're going to push it on me anyway.
Damn. We'll see. I'll probably have to get it too, but yeah, I'm holding out. I was going to, but the only reason I haven't waited is because you have to get the first shot, and then the second shot you have to wait however fucking long. Yeah.
So I was right at that point where like, all right, well, I got to get it, and the next shot I get is going to be like right before my show, you know. So I had to just make the call. I was not happy about it.
Did you cry inside when they stuck the needle in?
No, but it went against everything like I have been feeling and thinking about. It's like I'm a healthy 33-year-old guy that works out every day. Like even if I did catch COVID, this shit would not do a damn thing to me, and I legitimately feel that. But just to make other people, just to make my wife feel safe, I'm gonna do it. So
yeah, that's the boat I'm in because my wife doesn't like vaccines. She's not conspiracy. She's a nurse. She just doesn't like them.
yeah.
And to keep her mom safe when we go to Thailand. So it's like,
Yeah, and I think if you're vulnerable, like, yeah, sure, get it. But I'm not. I just live with someone who is, and that was the other thing. Like she because I'm hearing all kind of bad shit. Like if you catch COVID late in pregnancy, it causes like premature birth and all this crazy shit. So she was wanting to get it. I was like, you know what? I'd rather you not get it and me just get it, because she doesn't go anywhere. She lives with me and her mom is vaccinated already, and you know, if I'm vaccinated, then what's the point of her getting, right? She lives with 2 vaccinated people. She shouldn't need to get it.
get the vaccine.
Right. So I'd rather me take the prick than my pregnant wife and my unborn child taking the prick. So, so it was a compromise on that aspect too.
And to be fair, since we're a research-based conspiracy podcast, there is science and research to support the significance of vaccines. Yeah. So it's not but so there's still the bright side that the vaccine isn't going to edit your genes and turn you into
it might
a Neuralink robot in 30 years. You know, there's still the chance that they're not going to scan you with a bio camera to make sure the vaccine's in your blood and not let you in the bank or the grocery store. There's still that chance, but maybe not to.
I don't know. But you also didn't see me on social media flashing my vaccination card and like going around telling virtue signaling that I'm vaccinated either.
Yeah.
And also, if this is one of those fucking vaccines that you have to get every 6 months, they can suck a dick, because after I get the second one, I play my show. I'm not doing this whole thing like a flu vaccine that you got to get it every year, because I don't even take that fucking vaccine.
Me neither. If it's for sale on the sign at Walgreens, I try to stay away from it.
Yeah,
except toilet paper.
I'm hoping that after the second prick, I'm done. They don't inject microchips into me, start tracking me, or I don't become infertile and all that shit.
I think you'll be fine.
I didn't have any. I had 0 side effects so far from it, so I guess that's a good sign.
I'm optimistic about the vaccines being okay. I don't like everything else that has ushered in the vaccines. It's like a really, I don't know what the right metaphor is, but
I think that the idea of vaccine passports is absolutely insane. And that's a really stupid. So they want us to do vaccine passports, which is basically an app that you carry around on your fucking phone. But they get mad about people having to show IDs to go vote.
Yeah, that stuff is a little ass backwards.
Right, what the fuck is that? You have to show a vaccine passport to travel or go anywhere or live or basic functions in society, right?
To go to college, you have to show
participate. You have to show a vaccine pass for basic functions in society. But it's racist if you require an ID to go vote. It's like, all right, well, so we're gonna apply the same logic across the board or not?
And American Airlines backs up the no ID for voter, because they're with the whole voter suppression mainstream narrative, and they require IDs to book a flight, and they commented on that and said, yes, we require IDs to book any flight with blah 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 blah. And it's so ass backwards, man, that it's all corporations.
Yeah.
We're witnessing the beginnings of a type of fascism where the corporations are doing the bidding of the government. Because, like we talked about last episode, when the government privatizes their agendas, it's more efficient for them. It's better to get that job done, basically. So all the propaganda and the narratives and the new laws, the new way the world works, is coming through the private corporations that comply all along the way. And that's why big corporation is so important and small business is not, which is why all the small businesses that went out and the government didn't help and they reabsorbed the property. It's because
the small businesses are not putting money in those politicians' pockets.
Yeah, and they're not affecting societal change by mass hypnosis, because whenever name a huge corporation that starts to do the new laws, every airport, every Barnes and Noble, every Best Buy, every Target, every Walmart, Super Walmart, you know,
show your vaccine passport.
When things become common at that level, it just flows right into society as the norm. It's not even a law. This whole lockdown and stuff hasn't even been a law. It's been policy. And it's been the adoption of all the corporations like American Airlines, who put out that statement about voter suppression and we don't support that and this and that. It's like, you're a plane company, first, so stay the fuck out of it. Second, you require IDs, so shut the fuck up. But it's important for these big companies to push this narrative because it normalizes it on society, and government is pushing their agendas on private corporations, right? That's what I'm getting at. So that's why you see all the big companies pushing the same narratives. It's because the NBA, sports, live sports. Yeah. So fascism, big company, it's very important for them to push the narrative the government wants, because people aren't going to listen to the government.
Well,
speaking of a prick, the prick that you got earlier, Elon Musk and SpaceX signs a deal with Starlink.
Speaking of a prick. Like that transition. Yeah, so Elon Musk and Space have signed a deal with the military.
Army, and
you saw that coming.
Yeah. I told this to my friend. He's been sending me Thunderfoot videos on YouTube that debunks Elon Musk and his latest claims about the tunnel, the electric car. It's pretty fascinating. And he's been realizing how fake Elon Musk is. And I'm thinking in my head, I didn't know that stuff either, but I'm thinking in my head, people can be skeptical of Elon Musk, but not Bill Gates or Fauci. And I just thought that was really weird, because the same guy that is skeptical of Elon Musk totally trusts Fauci and Bill Gates is helping people with vaccines in Africa and stuff, right? Polio. So it's really weird, right? That Elon Musk can be this big billionaire philanthropist and people are like, skeptical. It's like I just said. And I told him, I was like, I think Elon Musk is a fraud, because on the back end, he's actually designing stuff for the military. So I sent him this article. Yeah. Back to what you said. I predicted it.
Yeah, you did predict it. You
He's
really
working
did.
for the fucking military.
Well, they're courting the military as one of their main customers for their low Earth orbit satellites to basically to power military operations. So they're testing it first, I think, in Maryland, where they're gonna see, I guess, what the speeds look like, what kind of equipment they need to incorporate at the ground level to take advantage of it. And if it works well, I'm sure they'll make a purchase, some kind of contract with SpaceX, and they'll start taking advantage of those Starlink satellites that they launched. How many did they launch out into space? Like 600 or something crazy like that?
Starlink launched about over 5,000.
5,000. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot. It's a lot.
It's like
So
5,300. I think it's either 5,300 or 1,500, but it's a lot. I'm pretty sure it's 5,000.
So yeah, the Army may be the ones actually taking advantage of that. Right now, they use these old school. I forget the name of this. Let me look through this article. I can't remember the name of the older satellites they used, but right now they use these old school satellites and they have to have these giant stationary dishes that they have on the ground to get the signal from them. So they're not very mobile, and they're not able. They don't have a lot of bandwidth. So if just looking at it from a non-conspiratorial standpoint, like for the military, it makes sense, right? That you would want to upgrade that technology. I'm sure you need a high bandwidth internet solution whenever you're running military operations in remote parts of the world. So it makes sense to take advantage of some type of satellite internet. But it's just really weird how intertwined Elon is with the U.S. government and now the U.S. military with things like this, you know.
What makes it so weird is his involvement with the private sector and how he's kind of a celebrity,
Super celebrity.
and people know him as the guy who made the car, the guy who made the flamethrower, the guy who's making rockets, the guy that's trying to make the tunnel for traffic in LA. Like, there's so much private sector stuff that is distracting us, and that's what Thunderfoot debunks, is all of that private sector technology he's talking about, how it's all bullshit, and it absolutely is all bullshit.
So I didn't watch that. What does the Thunder? So it's Thunderfoot.
Foot with 2 zeros. He's some kind of scientist or something, but he breaks down the science and the numbers behind, for example, Elon Musk talking about flying cars, and what Elon Musk said is he's going to use, tanks and air and high powered air. He breaks it down and shows you how many tanks he's going to need and how big of an air compressor he's going to need to deliver what he said. And he said, this is this is crazy. He debunks it like that. He shows how the way he presents it to the public is like, oh, this is great. But in reality, it's been done before. It's not as like his Hyperloop. That was broken down in one of his videos. He was like, one of the main conclusions was that public buses outperform his Hyperloop theory. Like, we've already done this, and it's in the form of the public bus. Because it's not a Hyperloop. The researcher, the reporter was there. It's Teslas that do 35 miles an hour through the tunnel with LED lights. It's going now. It's not this thing. And the time to unload the passengers, even if you do go 150 miles an hour, still backs up everybody else, because you got all these passengers in separate cars. And it would be faster just to put them in a bus and do faster than 35. And then the money to build the buses versus each Tesla and the whole Hyperloop, so he debunks Elon Musk on all these private sector fronts. And it's all bullshit. And that's when I said the only reason NASA's given him $286 billion contracts for rocket technology that is bullshit, and the reason the EU is behind him is because he's designing shit for the military, and the private sector is a distraction on us. That was the thing. But watch Thunderfoot's videos and then conflate it with his involvement with because that's what I'm getting at, is we know him as all this private sector shit, but no one's talking about his military involvement, and that's by design.
It's creepy, man.
So Army, what they did, Army and SpaceX signed a cooperative research and development agreement. They are used by military to test private products before becoming a customer. But I don't think they're actually a customer. So listen to this. CRADA, Cooperative Research and Development Agreement, provides personnel, facilities, but no funding or reimbursement for non-federal parties to conduct specific research or development efforts. So the military is not borrowing equipment and testing it to see if they like it so they can buy it like they made it sound. Because when you go to the Crata website and read what Crata is, it tells you. Easy way to collaborate with U.S. Army laboratory. Where is this damning sentence?
The exchange allows researchers to exchange technical expertise with non-federal partners and accept reimbursement for research conducted under CRADA.
Yeah, so the military is basically contracting them
They're funding
to design
the research.
to develop their products for them, the military. They're not testing it to see if they like it. What they're actually doing is bringing them in to use their facilities to develop and exchange technical expertise.
An article was a little misleading then because they made it sound
It
like
is.
the CRADA was like, oh, you know what? They're just testing it out. If they like it, then they'll buy it. No,
Yeah, they're
like,
developing.
they're developing the infrastructure to implement this technology. And they kind of alluded to that in the article. Like, all right, well, they have to figure out what kind of investments they have to on the ground to take advantage of this Starlink system, right? And I'm assuming that's part of where CRADA comes in as well. It's like, all right, well, how do they implement the Starlink into their existing military infrastructure? And I'm sure that is where some of this research and development is going to come into place. And they're probably going to just end up paying Starlink to develop that stuff for them, or SpaceX, excuse me.
Yeah, like you have these awesome satellites, come on in and make them work for us better, so we can send Wi-Fi to our drones and bomb deep in the mountains of Afghanistan. Yeah, and on the front end, we're going to intentionally push Elon Musk as the private sector Hyperloop guy that's trying to fix traffic because he's one of the people.
You think Elon's a CIA asset?
I don't know, but when you get to that level, this is a great example of how the government comes in and siphons your product. You know, like you get to a certain level and you're working with the government now because they step in and they want you to design it for their military. And in the private sector, you'll still be the guy that's designing, you know, super nice cameras. And we're going to keep it like that. But on the back end, you're going to be developing those cameras to recognize faces from 5 miles up that we can bomb. And then that technology, you know, like there's these two worlds happening and it's on purpose. It's like not an accident.
All right. So, and that leads us to, so speaking of technology being used for the state and against and not necessarily against the people, but not for the people, is how open source data can end up helping in some of this police brutality.
Yeah.
Did you have more you wanted to cover on this first?
No, that was basically it. Open source data. So the article opens up saying, we know that the rate of fatal police shootings for Black Americans remains much higher than that of any other race. Okay, so that's a bold statement. And I clicked on the links they provided. This link right. Oh wait, let me share screen.
Let's see. No more people shot to death by the police in the United States from 2017 to 2021.
Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, it sounded like it froze. I'm sharing my article.
Wait, so more white people were shot in 2021 than Black people.
Yeah, you see that graph? You looking at that graph?
Yeah, 114 white people, but only 62, not only 62, but 62 Black people.
Dude, where the fuck is that graph? I know I just had it.
Hold on, I'm going to pull it up for you. Let me just start sharing. Here you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so
you read that statement in the article.
Let me just explain the graph. So
let me read let me read
Go
this
ahead.
statement again to go in order, because they make this point. We know the rate of fatal police shootings for Black Americans remains much higher than that of any other race. Then they give that link. So you click on that link and go ahead.
All right. So on the x-axis you have the race, right? It breaks it down by white, black, Hispanic, other, and unknown. And then the y-axis you have the number of people on the left side. And then each year is a color-coded bar graph.
Yeah.
So 2021 is the light green year. So that's this year so far. That's why it's the smallest one. If you look in 2021, there have been 114 white people that were shot to death by police in the U.S. There have been 62 black people, 38 Hispanic people, 4 other, and then 74 people who identified as unknown.
Yeah.
So,
the
now,
link they provided after that statement totally contradicts the fact. It's almost a little misleading. But they're saying the rate, because then, let me share my screen. This is what I wanted you to help me clarify. So you got that. And it shows that white people are being killed more. Okay, and
it has
then,
to do with the number of white people and black people, like per capita, right? Per the population level.
Yeah,
I had to assume what they're the point they were making there.
Yeah, and I still can't wrap my head around it that way. But if you click through on the links more, you'll get to this graph. Shows rate of fatal police shootings in the United States from 2015 to April 2021 by ethnicity. So the rate per million of the population, and there's 36 black people, 27 Hispanic, 15 white, 5 other.
So that would make that statement accurate in terms of the rate.
And when I saw the first graph you showed, I was like, oh, this is like a propaganda, because they're just assuming I won't click on the link and break down what they said. I'll just see what they said and then believe it because they gave me a link. I won't click on. You see what I'm saying? Like they kind of slicked it by me. So you click on that graph and you look at it and it's like, oh, more white people. And then you click through on a link from that article and you find this one. And then it got confusing for me because I don't understand rate of fatal police shootings.
It just means that there's more. That means that there's more white people in the U.S., right? So per the amount of that population that's actually
white people
shot, right, getting shot by police.
Okay,
we're getting shot at a lower rate, or per capita would be another way to say that, right? You have less killings of white people by the hands of police brutality per capita of the white population than you do of the black population.
Okay, I get it. That makes a lot of sense. I get that. I still don't understand how that means police killings of black people are racially motivated, because a shit ton of white people are getting killed too. Not by capita of population, but just fucking way more in general. Like every year it's twice as many white people that are killed. So depending on which way you look at it can reinforce the narrative you want to push. And they're choosing to look at it from a per capita standpoint because it pushes that narrative that it's more black people, so it's more racist. And they leave out the fact that, like, you should say that the rate of police shootings is more fatal among per million population of black people, but twice as many white people are killed every year in the whole. It's like there's these two sides of the story that tell a different story in the middle, which I don't understand. But if you just focus on this one, you can push this narrative.
Yeah, I mean, so that statistic does have a point, though. I mean, because there are more white people, so it would make more sense that because they're a larger percentage of the population, they're going to consist of a larger percentage of the overall police brutality or police deaths versus the other races. You know what I'm saying? You're right, but then they're all like they have a point as well in terms of like looking at it from the per capita standpoint. Yeah,
and yeah, absolutely. That's the thing about science, is that there's so much more, but that first sentence is key
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much made it black and white, right? They just like, look, it is what it is, right?
Because this first sentence, not everybody knows that the rate of fatal police shootings means statistically per that population. You know what I'm saying? So when you word it like that, I mean, you're summing up a huge truth that is the kryptonite of American culture right now in a very deceptive way, and that's dangerous. We know that the rate of fatal police shootings for Black Americans remains much higher than that of any other race. So when I read that, I was like, okay, Black people, like, more Black people are killed every year. It's just kind of deceptive. It's kind of deceptive.
You're right. It is. It's a deceptive way to phrase it, for sure.
Because they could easily clarify that.
Push a specific narrative.
The only reason I was able to understand it was because I spent a deliberate long time studying that and then did a podcast with somebody to talk about it who also studied it. And that's when I figured it out. You think everybody that's reading this article that's in every person?
No, and then they'll also just spout that fact off to the street,
but they're not going to specify the rate of fatal police. They're going to say more Black people are killed every year. I read this article, more Black people are killed every year. And it's not, it's the rate is more, but it's actually, if you're talking about more people killed every year, it's white people, twice as many every year.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So that's a deceptive thing. It's a very deceptive, because we can look at this graph they provided right here. Number of people shot to death by the police every year by race is very different than the rate of police shootings. So there was a little deception here. And then if you go on, claims more transparency and opaqueness in nationwide open source data will lead to an end in systemic police misconduct. Says Amazon and Microsoft could use their corporate leverage to expand open source data because they already work with law enforcement to use AI, facial recognition, and predictive analytics. So the data they're talking about is the data of people killed and the people who report police violence, not like your personal phone data. So Mark Philpart is a social data scientist from PolicyLink, a national research and action institute based on collecting data on people who claim to have been terrorized by police. It's a community structure poverty issue exacerbated by COVID-19 and using George Floyd as its springboard. So it's based off of the popular narrative, not popular narrative, but the truth that it's poor communities that are decimated by crime.
Yeah, well, they're focusing on like the actual problem, that it's these poor communities, not necessarily just sticking to the one component or one variable of race in this whole thing. Yeah, so it seems to be the sticking point. Is like they always focus on that one variable whenever it's really a class and it's a class issue, right?
Yeah, definitely a class issue, because I grew up around a lot of poor white people that are in that same cycle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get systemic racism, but see, my problem with this whole conversation is that the people who push it are people that are from these really nice places like Denver and the Pacific Northwest and California and New York. And those are the same people. I meet them all the time. They don't ever come to the South. Because quote unquote, that's gross. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, have you walked around South Crowley and go look at the way those people live down there?
Yeah, like I grew up in real diversity. I grew up in that shit. I know how poverty works on a personal level because I grew up where all these privileged liberal fucks are too scared to even go because it's gross. And they're pushing this racism, and they fail to understand the truth that it's a class thing, man. So I don't know how far the systemic racism actually goes in truth, because I grew up in that shit and it was poverty based. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's definitely racism, right? And then especially down here in the South, right?
Yeah.
Black people got fucked, like especially in our state. because of the prison industrial complex that we have going on here, right? And that's a real thing. Like they definitely will they definitely issued harsher sentences to black residents of Louisiana for nonviolent crimes to get them put into the prison industrial system, so where they basically got free labor out of them. I mean, you have people serving life sentences for marijuana possession in Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
right? And most of those people are poor black people from those poor communities, right?
It gets worse and worse for every offense you have. Like if you go back for weed, you get more and more. And that's the cycle, is that you can't get good jobs because you don't have an education or money, so you have to deal drugs. It's that simple. And then when you get caught, it's on your record, and you're fucked even more because you can't get a job for real now. It's on your record. So you got to deal drugs. It's this cycle. And then the penalty gets harsher and harsher and harsher every time. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah. I was getting there. But I was making the point that there is components of our system that are racist, that have definitely disproportionately affected black people more so than white people, right? Especially down here in the South. But this woke narrative is taking the one variable and applying it to every single problem that we have as a society and a country, and saying that is the main problem with everything. And this non-nuanced approach to every issue is creating probably more racist people in the country than it's converting from racist to non-racist. And it's not actually getting at the root cause of a lot of the problems that they're trying to fix. Mm-hmm. They're not looking at any of the policies that they can change or any of that type of data, because they're I don't know the best way to articulate this, but they're looking for the specific. They already think they know what the cause of the problem is, and they're building the solution around it, even if that's not what the cause of the problem is. Whatever it is that whatever the topic of the day is, whether it's access to health care, voter suppression, police brutality. It's race, right? So how do we frame the problem, all these different problems up of just being centered around race? And that they're doing that for everything, and they're not going to get any solutions from it. They're just causing a deeper divide in the country, dividing us up like that.
Yeah, and just to clarify, where I was coming from with my point was where we started with. We know that the rate of fatal police shootings for black Americans remains higher. Because the George Floyd death, the specific context, just to clarify myself, was that police killing people. That narrative is so slippery because these graphs will support both sides, and they use this slippery narrative. So I was just saying, yeah, I'm with you. There is the harsh penalties and this cycle of poverty and how it intentionally does disenfranchise black communities or poor communities also. But when it comes to killing people, which is what this narrative is, more white people are killed every year than black people, although the rate is lower. So I don't know how police killing people holds up when using it to prove systemic racism.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I get what you mean.
I don't know how far that goes, because it's
proves that we have a police brutality problem in the country.
Police brutality problem, period. Like, because during the Black Lives Matter protest, there was lots of white people that got killed, lots of white people that got battered. I saw, that's like obvious surface stuff, but it's the truth. It doesn't go away. Like, how is it inherent police racist? I'm not saying there's definitely some racist cops out there that wield bad power, but I don't see how police are just racist, and when they see a black person, they're just going to kill them. That's like this narrative that gets put out there, like black people need to be terrified around cops because they're just going to kill you, man. It's like, I think everybody needs to be terrified around cops because they'll fucking kill you.
Yeah, everyone needs to be terrified around cops because they'll fucking kill you.
Yeah, but I don't deny systemic racism.
Right. Yes, I get what you mean. To the point that you're making is that this article is trying to tie police brutality to systemic racism, and that's not necessarily, even from the statistics that they're quoting in the first paragraph of the article, that's not necessarily why police are killing all these people across the country.
Yeah. And the policy link thing, I couldn't find anything damning because it says all the right things. Instead of investing in things that actually keep people safe, like basic needs, housing, food, jobs, education, we continue to pour money into policing to try to control problems that stem from things like poverty and trauma, says Subramanian. And so our approach is really to invest more money into things that actually keep people safe. That's what PolicyLink is after, is what we've been talking about. So maybe PolicyLink is a good thing, like.
Yeah, and I like kind of what they were saying in the article, like, hey, all these companies like Microsoft and Amazon that are helping the state um, with their facial recognition software, their AI, their predictive analytics. They're using that to help the state capture people. They can also use that same technology for the people to stop this police brutality that's run rampant across the country. So I like the idea that they have of taking that technology and actually using it for the people, not necessarily against the state, but yeah, I guess you could say against the state.
Using it against the state. That's what he mentioned in that article, not using the technology, using it against using it to serve justice to misconduct on behalf of the state or something. Like it's like a open source data collection that the data is police brutality and people's reports and seeing maps. So they call it an equity atlas. I have it on screen. I think this is kind of what PolicyLink is getting after. This is a PolicyLink thing. Equity atlas, racial equity index, 150 largest metro areas. Alaska, damn, they got some. I didn't know they had some races. They scored low. Index score 59. Louisiana down here in Baton Rouge, 47, 34, not doing too well. Look at Denver or wherever Colorado is. Is this Colorado?
Yeah, Colorado Springs.
They scored so well. Look at that.
No police brutality.
Denver scoring good. And then you go to Seattle.
Or Louisiana, man. We just got the worst shit everywhere. The worst in Shreveport. We got the worst in
Baton Rouge.
We got bad in New Orleans.
Mississippi. Mobile, Alabama, 35. Damn, we scored lower than Mobile and Baton Rouge. God damn.
Yeah, we got it bad in the South, man.
Yeah. So this PolicyLink thing might be a good thing if it really is a database of. I don't fully understand how it would work. Like, what do they do?
Well, I think they're just trying to illuminate. Like, all right, I think they're just trying to illuminate the data, right? Just to show all of the instances of police brutality that are occurring, just so that we can, so it's out there in the open. And so that whenever
open source data, everybody can go and that makes a lot of sense.
It's out there in the open. You can go and see all of these instances of police brutality, which racial groups they're being perpetuated against, what locations of the country that are experiencing it. Yeah, and then you could start to actually make some policy changes in those different areas, right? Through your voting.
Yeah.
Now, whether that comes to fruition or not, we'll see, but probably not. It's probably another one of those things that people have good intentions with, and we never get anything from it. I don't know. I'm just being a super pessimist right now.
Well, speaking of pessimism,
because even with like the Derek Chauvin verdict, right? You still had people were pissed off with that verdict, even though he was guilty on all charges.
Yeah, he filed for a retrial.
Oh
Misconduct.
yeah, I saw that.
Ooh, yeah.
That's
Oh my
if
God.
they actually do go back to trial on that there's going to be some riots, I would
Oh
assume.
yeah, my conspiracy mind already went to if the vaccines and COVID don't continue working, they're gonna spark up a riot around the retrial. Like they're just keeping the chambers loaded for unrest in the streets. This
Because
fucking
this guy,
establishment.
because the guy got photographed with a Black Lives Matter hat on, right? That was the whole thing. One of the jurors.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that was the thing. Like they're calling. I forget what it's called, but basically
Being
the
biased.
yeah, a biased jury. Yeah, the juror, one of the jurors was photographed with a Black Lives Matter hat on, which the jury is supposed to remain anonymous, right? When this same fucking guy is the one who went on TV, like after the verdict, he's like, oh yeah, we he explained the whole situation, got his little bit of got his 15 minutes of fame out, and I think that's the same guy that they dug up these photographs on, and now they're saying that they want to call for a retrial. So it almost feels like that guy in the jury might have been a fucking plant. Maybe he was a plant.
Bro, right? I mean, how would a court let somebody with a political statement on their clothes through security and check-in to be a jury on like the biggest case of the decade? You know, like political
They
slogan.
pulled up old pictures of him, like after the at the marches. They had photos of him with the Black Lives Matter hat on.
Oh,
So he
okay.
was
So
out. He was out. He was out at the marches with the photos of him with the Black Lives Matter hat on.
okay, I thought it was him like at court wearing a Black Lives Matter, like
No,
deliberating in the room with his Black Lives Matter swagger all over.
no, that wasn't the case. So we're jumping into some science stuff now. Get off of this. Get off of politics.
Yeah, I mean, I got some more stuff to say about how much I hate masks, but I'll save that for the next episode.
All right.
So,
All right. Where you want to start with alien raindrops? With
let's start with alien raindrops because I went down the rabbit hole in this one, and I think you'll like. I think you'll like this.
I probably will. So I think it's really dope that we're starting to really study the climates and stuff on these other planets and try to really understand climatology on other planets and expand our understanding of it from away from just the climate of Earth. Because I mean, if we're going to be truly a interplanetary species, that's the type we need to begin that kind of work. We need to begin to really understand climates on these other planets, and that's what this article is doing. Right, they're starting to look at things like raindrops.
Yeah.
And what raindrops are made out of. And they have raindrops that are made out of some wild things on other planets.
Yeah, doing wild things too.
Wild things. So one of the planets, well, first of all, this article pretty much talks about how raindrops behave the same way across the Milky Way. So which is cool because we can take our laws of thermodynamics and fluid mechanics and thermodynamics and apply it on other planets, and that math makes sense. It works on these other planets, regardless of whether the raindrop is made from water, like it is on Earth, or if it's made from methane, like it's made on Saturn's moon Titan. And there's even these really wild exoplanets like WASP 76b that have things like iron rain that fall down. Which I thought I went and looked into that, which was pretty nuts.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Iron. Well, worlds with higher gravity produce smaller raindrops. Regardless, they wind up being from a tenth of a millimeter to a few millimeters, no matter where they're at. Any bigger and they break apart. So they're kind of like that.
Any smaller, they'll evaporate before either hitting the ground if the planet has a solid surface.
Yeah. So Jupiter has what they just discovered as shallow lightning and ammonia mushballs, which are ammonia water clouds form the lightning on Jupiter. So what happens is they were scanning in 1979 with Voyager, which I have the article here. Voyager was looking at NASA I will show that picture so you can look at it, because that's basically what Voyager saw, was flashes like.
You still have it on your National Equity Atlas right now.
Oh, for real? Okay.
Yeah.
So Voyager scanned the upper atmosphere of Jupiter and saw hazy explosions of lightning. It wasn't like a clear bolt. It was.
They thought it was happening like lower underneath.
Yeah,
like lower level, right?
Yeah, they thought it was hazy because it was happening deeper into the atmospheres. But the Juno mission, I believe it was Juno, because they had Voyager spotted Jovian flashes of lightning. Jovian is the name of the moon, Juno. Jovian, apparently. So they thought it was 28 to 40 miles below the surface, because they thought clouds formed the same on Jupiter, which means that kind of lightning would be at that level.
Which down there, that far down, I'm sorry to cut you off. I read this article too, but down there, it was like 30, right around freezing temperature, 32 degrees. So water could exist at that level in a water form.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
It's right at the freezing point. And then whenever you go further up, then the temperature, is below zero, like negative 100 below zero or something crazy like that in the upper atmosphere of Jupiter.
Oh, dude, it gets so cold. That's fucked up.
Go ahead. Sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off.
It's cool. So the Juno mission revealed from the dark side of Jupiter that these flashes were happening closer to the surface. So they're like, oh, that's not shallow, it's close to the top. So the ammonia slush balls, what happens is the water gets thrown way up high into the atmosphere, and then it attaches ammonia to it, and then the weight causes it to fall down, and then it gets pushed back up. Like, it keeps going up and down, and that's how the layers of hail are made, is going up and down in the atmosphere. So you got this ammonia water thing happening, and when it gets too heavy, it will fall down to the lower atmosphere and then become mush, and that's where the ammonia rain comes from. Because they realized when they saw it from the side that the lightning was up higher, that type of lightning happens when water and ammonia collide. So it supported their theory that water is being thrown up and colliding with ammonia and causing that lightning up there. So there's this hailstorm of ammonia water happening, and that collision makes the lightning, and then it rains down, which is so wild.
Could you imagine? I always just wish we could send a camera that could survive into the surfaces of these planets just to see what it looks like.
HD. Oh man.
I mean, Jupiter's a gas giant, right? So I guess there wouldn't be much to look at other than just different layers of gases and stuff. But on some of these rocky planets, I think it would be cool to do that.
Yeah, I was thinking about being in like a safe shell and being there in real life, because you can imagine it and it's wild, but being there in real life, it's probably like an experience you can't even put into words. Just so terrifying and dominant.
To me,
11,000 mile an hour wind of iron rain.
That's WASP 76. Did you look into that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
4,500 degrees Fahrenheit in the day and 2,700 degrees at night.
It's like locked. So the way that it's set up, it is so close to the star that it goes around that.
Yes.
It's, I forget what they call it. I don't have that one pulled up either, but it's like phase locked. I think
it's called tidally locked.
Tidally locked, to where one side of the planet faces the star at all sides. So it has a dark side and a light side. And on the dark side, it's the 4,000 whatever degrees, and 45. On the light side, it's 2,000 something degrees.
Yeah, it's like 4,500 degrees and 2,700. 11,000 mile an hour winds, man. Because of the drastic change in different temperature, it causes these. It causes these high winds. It orbits its WASP 76b orbits its host star at 1.8 Earth days. Ultra hot. It's an ultra hot Jupiter, 640 light years from the sun. So the moon is also tidally locked. It's called synchronous rotation. The moon. Did you look into that?
I don't look now, but I have these fucking pop-ups that won't stop. Sorry.
Oh. So the moon is also tidally locked. The moon goes around the Earth in 27 point something days, 27.322 days, and it takes 27 days to rotate on its axis. So it's rotating on its axis the same amount of time it goes around Earth. So as it's like rotating Earth, it's spinning, so it's always facing us. Isn't that weird? That's why it always faces, because it has two motions. Like, what are the chances of that? It's almost got to be set into motion to be perfect like that. I mean, that is the ultimate universal harmony. That's why it appears to never spin, because it's spinning so perfectly. Oh, that's so trippy.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. But that brings in the dark side of the moon and Apollo 8.
I didn't go deep into that, so.
Well, let's cover the other planet first, because there's a giant blue one that rains molten glass, a blue marble alien planet.
You went down the rabbit hole of looking up like the most exotic exoplanets.
I just followed the links in the original article and wanted to get it.
I did too, and like that's where it led down like all these different super exotic exoplanets. Like one that rains molten iron, WASP 76b, because of the heat differences where you have where whenever the iron gets evaporated on the day side and transitions to the dark side, with 11,000 mile per hour winds, it comes down in liquid molten rain on that side, which is crazy.
Dude,
this one that rains glass.
These are hot Jupiters, which is a whole genre of planet, which is basically Jupiter-sized planets that are really, really close to their parent star. So they're so hot. Dark side of the moon. I have a picture graph on one of these articles. Why huge hot Jupiter alien planets are so puffy. So there's that one. Let me just finish on the glass planet, because it was HD 189733b is the name of that planet. And it is 1700 degrees in the daytime.
Now, is this one tidally locked as well?
I think so. That's how it gets so hot. It's because it's so close to its parent star. A huge gas giant that orbits very close to its host star, HD 189733. Not B. The host star is 33. The hot Jupiter is 33b. The planet's atmosphere is scorching with the temperature over 1,000 degrees Celsius. It rains glass sideways, howling 7,000 kilometer per hour winds. Dude.
Yeah, let's go see what that looks like.
Yeah,
let's. That planet.
I bet that would actually be beautiful and trippy to do mushrooms and just go there in a safe pod and watch glass, melted glass, just haul ass.
Man, if I was on mushrooms seeing that, I'd be pretty freaked out probably.
I think my mind would literally explode. I mean, it might pop just from that. I don't know if humans are capable of surviving.
I don't think you need to be on mushrooms to experience that and like trip out.
I don't think probably not. I don't know if our minds, speaking physically, like our bodies physically, I don't feel like they could handle that kind of reality, like reacting to the reality. I think it's just so beyond our comprehension. If we saw it, we would die. We would just faint or something. because it would be so real in such a more extreme way. Because it's weird, because all these different planets and all these different environments around the universe like this, they're made up of the same elements here on Earth. It's just how fast they're moving, how close to the star, and how much of each element they have. But it's the same shit, it's just a different combination. It's so weird. Like, if you just speed the Earth up and move it closer to the sun,
we would have that atmosphere. Yeah, we would have this experience on Earth.
And another interesting thing about hot Jupiters is that they're puffy and they're big.
Because of the radiation they're getting from that star.
Yeah, and the heat makes them expand, and they get more radiation, so that they have this puffy quality. Which is what they think. But the dark side of the moon, that's it for the planets. It went into the dark side of the moon. I had to look into Apollo 8. So Apollo 8, this one goes on a fun little rabbit hole. I'll bring up the article.
Apollo 8.
First around the moon, because they took the picture of the Earth, that famous photo. Okay, so Apollo 8 launched December 21st, 1968. Jesse, what is December 21st? The winter solstice. They weren't supposed to launch. They wanted to push it back because Apollo 7 failed the tests to provide them with confidence that they could make it to the moon, because they went like in phases, and then they orbited, and then they landed. They tested along, you know what I mean? That was all the Apollo missions. But the executive decision was, no, we're going. And like everybody that was a part of the Apollo missions was basically like, no, that's a bad idea. But they went anyway. I just wonder if they were like, we got to do it on the solstice, man. We got some rituals we're doing on live TV. We got to do this. So it was Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders. The Apollo 8 needed the better Saturn V rocket, which Apollo 7 used the Saturn IB. On Christmas Eve, crew member Lovell read the first verse of the Bible. They all took turns reading from the book of Genesis, creating the heavens and the earth and the firmament without void. Flat earth, baby. That's the firmament, the biblical model. Yeah, you know, Warner von Braun has the firmament scripture verse on his headstone. And the earth is without void, and there was a firmament. The firmament, whatever the firmament scripture verse was what Warner von Braun has on his headstone.
I didn't know that there was a firmament scripture verse.
Firmament?
Firmament, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Firmament, Warner von Braun, headstone. Man, my Mac's keeping up good today, son. Let's get it, baby. So Warner von Braun has Psalms 19:1 on his headstone. And Psalms 19:1 is that the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. That's what Warner von Braun put on his headstone. The firmament showeth his handiwork. For those that aren't biblically inclined, the firmament is the biblical term for the glass dome, basically, that's over the flat earth. Because the biblical model of earth is flat. The firmament that separates the waters of heaven from the land on earth, so that everything above the firmament is water. If you're looking at the bill. So it's just weird that Warner von Braun put that on his tombstone. Like, hey, everybody, we've been lying to you. It's a firmament. Goodbye. That's pretty weird, right?
It is pretty weird.
So
I was just pulling up other verses. Apparently it shows up a lot in the Bible.
Yeah, so that's what the astronauts on Apollo 8 were reading on live TV while orbiting the moon. Was the Genesis scripture verses on Christmas Eve. which is weird. Christmas Eve is the same time they made the Federal Reserve on Jekyll Island. So I don't know what it is about Christmas Eve and stuff. And then Borman said there is a Santa Claus. That's what he said on the broadcast when they signed off. There is a Santa Claus. That's what he said, man. There is a Santa Claus. It's some weird stuff to be doing.
That's weird, man.
I'll read that again. They all took turns reading from the book of Genesis while they orbited the moon on Christmas Eve. They orbited the moon 10 times on Christmas Eve. It's one of those numbers. Borman also said there is a Santa Claus.
It's such a weird thing to say. And didn't we associate Santa Claus with some type of what is Santa Claus associated with in terms of like the pagan pagan religions? There is some historical.
Yeah, find that.
I'm pulling it up right now. Continue.
Pull it up. I'll finish the Apollo 8. It goes into some other stuff. So, alleged pictures of a triangular object were seen on the dark side of the moon. No pixelation or glitches that happen with digital pictures because it's film. It is the last image of the Apollo Image Atlas. And I have it. I'll show you. Give it a second. Apollo Image Atlas. So you can go to lpi.usra.edu and find the whole inventory of pictures taken on the Apollo missions. And this is real. So I'll just click on a picture, look at that. It's like 5 of them in like snapshots in subsequent order. So there's this picture. Okay. I hit back. The next in order, I'll skip a few. Again, these are subsequent snapshots.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you see the moon. We see the moon again. Everything's normal. 2 spots, 2 spots. There's 4 spots. Okay. Okay, we get to this one. Everything's normal. 4 spots. The very last picture. 4 spots. Everything's normal. Here we go. The very last picture of the reel shows this triangular feature appear.
What the fuck is that?
And it's not been explained, and it's not edited on there because it would show pixelation from digital editing. It's consistent with it being part of the film.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's the final snapshot on the Apollo imaging while they were like orbiting.
Bruh.
Yeah, right?
It kind of gives me the creeps a little bit, I'm not gonna lie.
I know.
That definitely gave me the creeps.
Yeah.
That's weird. That pyramid type looking structure. Am I seeing that right?
Yeah, and
it's triangular pyramid.
And it appears because here's those spots, the 2 big ones and the 2 small ones.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
It just came out of nowhere. Was it in the photo before it?
No, all these photos before it's not there.
And that's not it's not like an artifact from the window that they're taking the photo from or something like that.
I guess not.
I'm asking, like, you don't think that that's a possibility?
I suppose it's definitely a possibility, but the astronauts would be able to explain that moment something landed on the window while they were taking pictures of the moon, you know?
That's weird, dude.
But I mean, it's super consistent with...
That's weird. That gave me the creeps.
Yeah, let's see if this pattern... Maybe it's not a structure. Maybe it's like just a triangle that appears. So let's go back. Okay, yeah, there's nothing there to the right of this. There's no squiggly or bright line. It's straight up a structure of some sort.
Yeah, it looks like it has height to it.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like a pyramid. Kind of.
That's really strange, man.
Yeah. So Borman and Lovell were also commanders on the Gemini 7 missions, which tested the endurance of the ship. Borman served on a review board to investigate the fatal fire of Apollo 1, which I didn't know there was a fatal fire of Apollo 1. My first thought was there was a conflict of interest investigating the lab in Wuhan where allegedly COVID escaped.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the scientists that works in that lab was on the review board to investigate the lab. And that's conflict of interest because he has it in his best interest to keep this lab open.
Sure.
Yeah. So that was something not talked about. And that is what reminded me here, because this astronaut, a part of the Apollo missions, Apollo 1. While I'm talking, I'm looking for my next bookmark. Sorry, people, I'm getting better. So,
You're doing good.
This astronaut, Borman, I think that would be conflict of interest for him to investigate an issue with his mission, because it's in his best interest to keep this thing going.
Yeah, he wants the Apollo missions to continue.
So, Apollo 1's crew member was Virgil Gus Grissom, and he was an Air Force veteran of the Korean War. And the Korean War we talked about with MK Ultra, they brainwashed soldiers coming back to deconstruct the communistic propaganda mind control that happened in Korea. So I wonder if my conspiracy mind is like, maybe this guy knew stuff and they needed to get rid of him. Because this is also Apollo 1, the first Apollo mission gets caught on fire and they die. Like a sacrifice on TV to get this whole thing started. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you think the guy that died might have been the one that he might have knew some shit from the Korean War?
I don't know. There was 3 people on that died. I think Ed White and Roger Chaffee were on there as well. Yeah, Robert Chaffee, Ed White, and Gus Grissom. There was 3 guys. The connection with Apollo 8 is that Borman from Apollo 8 was on the review board of Apollo 1. But none of the same members. So, picking up where I left off, he was chosen among NASA's first group of astronauts known as the Mercury 7. So he was the second man in space on Mercury's Liberty Bell 7 mission. His hatch door flew open upon landing in the ocean. He wound up in the water. The helicopter saved him.
Okay.
Many in the astronaut office thought he blew the hatch and thought his reputation would never recover, but he swore he didn't blow open the hatch. So there was just some stuff going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like they might have blew the hatch for him, and it seemed like he did.
Yeah. I don't know. So Ed White and Roger Chaffee also were on there. Many astronauts in the Apollo program believed Apollo 1 module was not ready. The morning of the countdown test, there was a foul odor in the breathing oxygen, which took an hour to fix. We find out later what that was. Then the comm system malfunctioned, communications. Grissom shouted, "How are we going to get the moon? How are we going to get to the moon if we can't communicate through 2 or 3 buildings?" At 6:31 p.m., fire was reported over the comm system. Deke Slayton, who selected astronauts for the flights, so it's a guy that selects, he watched the fires on his monitors. The crew struggled to get out. The door was impossible to open because it wasn't like a quick latch, and the pressure basically sealed it shut.
So they basically burned to death inside.
Yeah. They went unconscious from just like chemicals
Smoking,
first.
yeah.
Yeah. So a NASA review board, of which Apollo 8's Borman was on, found that a spark started the fire amid the pure oxygen environment. The spark was probably from damaged wires. I actually have the official finding and report the finding and report paper here. I'll have these show notes Yeah, so
There was a momentary power failure at 11:30. Several arcs were found in the post-fire investigation. No single ignition source of the fire was conclusively identified. The probable initiator was an electrical arc in the sector between Y plus Z spacecraft axes. The exact location best fitting the total available information is near the floor in the lower forward section of the left-hand equipment bay where environmental control system instrumentation power wiring leads into the area between the environmental control unit and the oxygen panel.
yeah, so basically
No evidence was discovered that suggested sabotage.
Do you believe that?
Mm-mm.
You're going to NASA and you got fucked up wires. No one checked that. I've been a helper on residential houses and a foreman on residential houses and helper on commercial jobs and military jobs. And I cannot imagine a NASA job where they missed.
Yeah, they leave exposed wires.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I honestly can't imagine that. Having experience with wires, like the only people that do that leave them exposed to the point where it causes fires and electrocutions are dumb fucking people that don't follow the rules. Literally, like a company I worked for, they always cut corners, and they didn't like me because I didn't. So it took me a little longer to do a better job, which includes splicing the wires, twisting them, wrapping it in tape when you need to, putting the correct box and a cover.
Right.
And an AC guy, I know him. We'd work with everybody. He went to the unit to do his job, and his helper found him turning purple and foaming at the mouth, and he kicked him to knock him off because he was being electrocuted.
Oh my God.
Because my crew didn't tape up the 30 amp wire and do a good job. So that 30 amp wire was on.
Oh my God.
And he had to do like physical therapy and shit.
That's fucking terrible.
So those are the types of people that make these mistakes. And I have a hard time believing there wasn't sabotage because you're going to the moon for NASA and you fucked up like some rednecks.
You're not taking the most extreme care when building these systems and shit.
Yeah. So that was the fire. It caught fire on January 27th, 1967.
Yeah, they were sabotaged.
Yeah. Burned.
Sticking to that. They killed those people.
Yeah, so Borman was on that review board. And they made recommendations which was the rapid spread of fire. There's a finding that was really damning, and I should have wrote it down. Okay, so the organization responsible for the planning, conduct, and safety of this test failed to identify it as being hazardous. Contingency preparations to permit escape or rescue of the crew from the internal command module fire were not made. So it was like just kind of like they didn't
even have a safety plan in place.
Yeah. Oh, determination. Adequate safety precautions were neither established nor observed for this test.
No shit.
Yeah. So
they didn't follow the proper safety procedures. It looks like it could have possibly been a sabotage setup.
Yeah, because there was the finding in the report was momentary power failure, evidence of several arcs, no single ignition source. So it was like a whole area going crazy. It wasn't like one bad connection over here that got loose. It was.
I imagine it takes a lot for like a cable to start arcing like that anyway.
And to catch fire, I mean, right. it's arcing consistently. It's not like boop and then a fire. It's just And that's what that smell was, I think, that they smelled first was
burning you smelled like a burning electrical shit before.
Yeah.
It's a weird smell.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll have these show notes if you want to go actually read that government finding determination paper and the articles.
I want to know about this object on the moon.
We just looked at that triangle.
Yeah.
Freaking crazy.
That's weird, dude.
Yeah.
That creeped me out, not gonna lie. When you're going through those, I did not expect to see that in that last image.
The Dark Side of the Moon Apollo 8 mission, reading Genesis and all this weird stuff happening. It's very strange.
It's really weird.
There is a Santa Claus.
Yeah, I didn't find... Sorry, I got distracted. I was paying attention to you. I didn't finish looking that up. But yeah, I'm sure there's some significance to that too. There is a Santa Claus.
So weird. We got another science mystery. Distant spiraling stars give clues to the forces that bind subatomic particles. I need to share the screen. Boom. So this was cool because they're basically studying neutron stars, which are dead stars that are very dense, the size of a city. Super, super dense. They have like the most dense... They're the most densest in the universe.
The densest objects in the known universe, yep.
Yeah, so what happens when two neutron stars orbit each other is you get super, super ridiculously high levels of gravity. And at a certain point, they emit a burst of gamma rays. Boom, because they're going so fast. And gravitational waves. And scientists observe these events by gamma and gravitational waves, and they combine the data together to get what's known as symmetry energy. Because there's symmetry energy determines the ratio of protons and neutrons that make up a nucleus. So the symmetry in something is kind of like the starting point of how things bind together. And so they can study this well with neutron stars orbiting each other because it's at such a high scale.
Right.
You can't study it on Earth.
Then they can take that same ratio, because it's just a ratio, and they can apply it at the nuclear physics level to understand, quarks, gluons, at the micro level.
Yeah.
They're looking at the macro level with these planets, but they could take those same ratios and apply them when studying the smaller components that make up all the matter.
It determines this, allows for more results and data on the forces that determine the structure of all matter. Resonance is the key to the discoveries. That's the key word that stuck out to me because that's very Pythagorean, universal harmony, woo-woo, our frequencies. It's like another case where science is circling back to like ancient Taoism, because the essence of their findings isn't an equation or a molecule. It's the concept of resonance. Resonance is when force is applied to an object at the object's natural frequency. This is from the article, which generates a catastrophic vibrational motion, like when an opera singer shatters glass. And the whole Nikola Tesla, you can destroy the world if you can find its vibration, and everything has its vibration. Like, that's true in this article.
Right.
That's what's allowing the discovery of the binding force of nature from neutron stars. So that's super interesting to me, how resonance and that whole concept is. It's like another win. It's like resonance. Yeah, we're back in the fight, baby. I'm tuning my guitar to 432 and I'm running with it.
432. Remember we tried that for a little while? We tried tuning our instruments to 432.
I like 432. It does sound warmer to me, and it's funner to sing in. I like it.
Do you still do that?
No, because most of my string playing has been over covers or my friend's songs, which are in 440.
You could transpose it.
I could, but he'd have to tune down, and it's one of those things where it's like, everybody's got to tune down. Ba.
Understood.
If I was on a desert island and I only worked, if I was like Jason Mraz and I could play acoustic shows by myself and make hundreds of thousands of dollars every month, 432 all day, baby. But
I'll play in 432 with you if you want, bro.
fuck yeah. Let's do it.
But
we
yeah,
did actually. We did.
Yeah,
actually.
we did. Yeah, but the resonance thought was really cool. So check this out. So whenever the neutron stars reach their state of resonance, they have this solid crust, which the crust of a neutron star is thought to be 10 billion times stronger than steel. So when they reach that certain frequency, even their solid crust shatters. And then whenever that solid crust shatters, it releases the bright burst of gamma rays that's called a resonant shattering flare that we see by our satellites. The in-spiraling stars release gravitational waves that can be detected by instruments on Earth. They measure both the flare and the gravitational wave signal, and and as you said earlier, that's how they calculate the symmetry energy of the star, is whenever they reach resonance and it experiences that resonant shatter. You were saying something and I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Can you repeat that last sentence? Your voice got glitchy.
Oh, I don't even remember what I said. I think I just said that's basically how they are measuring it, is once the neutron stars reach resonance and they experience that resonant shattering flare, that's where we pick up those signals from our satellites to understand those ratios.
By studying neutron stars and the cataclysmic final motions of these massive objects, we're able to understand something about the tiny, tiny nuclei that make up extremely dense matter, said Bath astrophysicist Dr. David Tsang. The enormous difference in scale makes this fascinating.
Yep. So as we were saying earlier, looking at it at the huge scale of planets helps us understand what's happening at the very micro scale of nuclei, which is really cool.
I would like to talk about, real quickly, we went real deep into the Cahokian Indians a while back.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw this article that just kind of pointed out something.
So you're talking about the U.S. lost ancient megacity?
Yeah, because
article?
Most ancient Mesopotamian megacities, I am getting my
this one they're all like perplexed, like, oh, why did they have this huge ancient megacity? Because most ancient megacities were all centered around commerce.
Yeah, the Mesopotamian cities.
Right.
And this one was, the Cahokian megacity wasn't centered around commerce. It was centered around cultural events and partying, basically. Yeah. They found a pit where they would dump food after the party, and it showed compounds of something. 2,000 deer carcasses from one event were found together. 2,000 deer, dude. How do you hunt 2,000 deer? God,
you gotta imagine back then, though, deer were probably super plentiful.
There's still a lot of hunting.
That's a lot of hunting.
They still run away from you, and you still gotta be smart.
Just think about this. So, like, they think the population may have swelled up to 30,000 people in 1050 AD. I mean, 30,000 people back in ancient times like that's a ridiculously huge amount of people anyway.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. Biomarkers were found for the evidence of a type of holly known as Yaupon.
Oh, I'll pull that up too. I looked up Yaupon.
Oh, did you?
Yaupon. It's a tea. It's a tea. And we actually, it grows like down here.
Yeah, they would have to. This is the thing, is that the Cahokians would have to walk 100 miles at least to get the Yaupon. So it was a massive effort to get this, because it's native to North America, but it's 100 miles away at least from where they had their parties. So it was a very deliberate effort. Is that Yaupon?
That's Yaupon right there.
That looks like a tree I've seen a million times.
Yeah, we have it in the Gulf Coast. That's what I'm saying. We have that down here.
So
it's one of.
Whoa. So this whole time I could have chewed on those leaves and got a good buzz. I bet it's a nice, clean caffeine buzz. Not like espresso where it goes straight to your heart and you feel like you're on meth and then you dehydrate. It's probably like a real natural.
Well, they say the leaves yield a yellow to dark orange elixir with a fruity and earthy aroma and a smooth flavor with malty tones.
That sounds nice.
That's what I said.
I'm going to go
Apparently
to Whole Foods
it's making
and look for that.
Comeback. It's making a comeback. It really
Make
is.
a little mainstream comeback. Hi, Whole Foods. Yeah, this is Dillon. Do you have Yaupon? Yaupon, yeah, like the tea. Okay, yeah, I can hold. Yeah, for sure. 20 minutes later.
This article actually calls out like the Cahokia Mounds.
Really?
Yeah. It's all about Yaupon, but apparently it was a big deal at the parties they used to have at the Cahokia Mounds, apparently.
Remember that the Cahokian Indians would have those disinterment ceremonies where they would get really high on caffeine and then suffocate each other and bury them in the mound? I wonder if it was Yaupon that they were chewing on that they got.
Oh, I'm sure if it was caffeine, because it's the one and only caffeinated plants that's native to North America.
It kind of looks like yerba mate. It has that honey color to it.
I want to try it. I want to try Yaupon.
Yeah,
maybe I'm gonna start making it because we can grow it in my backyard.
Yes,
I'm gonna start the Starbucks of Yaupon.
Bro, let's start our podcast lifestyle brand where we sell, Yaupon, and we can name it, I don't know. We can name it Bad Motherfuckers Tea because the Cahokians were bad motherfuckers. That's just an idea.
Bad Motherfucker Tea. BMFT. Okay. So stupid. We'll sell face masks too.
Oh yes.
But just one that covers your nose. It goes around your ears, leaves your mouth open. Just covers your nose but leaves your mouth open.
Yeah. Oh, we should. Oh, bro, a mask with the QR code, and the QR code is a link to that MIT article. So people are like, "Can I do it?" Like, yeah.
That is actually pretty fucking smart. We should do that.
Yeah. Fuck yes. Okay, so
back to the article. So the Cahokian Mounds. This article is like, why did they all come together to meet at these mounds to party? There was no marketplace. All the cultures at the time always centered around a marketplace. When they look at ancient cultures, they always find where was the marketplace. The marketplace is the main reason for all these people to get together and gather. They did not exist at Cahokia. Now, if you go back and listen to our earlier episodes with Randall Carlson, you'll see us talk about the Cahokia Mounds and what their significance was to those ancient cultures. We believe were related to observing the cosmos. So there's these elevated areas where you can stand atop them and get a full picture of everything going on in the sky above you. So if I were my theory is that this was one of the ideal places to meet to observe different cosmological events, and that these celebrations probably centered on those dates, right? Like probably around December 21st, right? And probably around the spring equinox and everything, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Because this is one of the few mounds that still exists like this in North America, but there are a lot of areas all throughout, particularly the Mississippi River Valley, that these types of mounds and structures existed all over in North America.
Mm-hmm. And that's on episode 6, Town Cars and Cataracts, where we go into that part of it all, if you want to check that out.
So yeah, but I mean, that's what whenever you send me this article, my mind immediately went into that old episode. I was like, oh, I've seen these mounds before.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of started going through my notes on it, but yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's cool that they go more into the cultural aspects of like how they kind of partied and how they used this land.
Yeah, and just to wrap that up, it was a cultural center built in swampy lands, most likely a place to bridge the gap between the world and the afterlife, as water was the barrier between the two. The Mesoamerican ceremonies had large poles where men would tie themselves to it and fly around it or climb on top, and the same poles are found in Cahokia. So there's like a cultural similarity between these two super different cultures, which is another thing that implies a global religion way back in the day.
Yeah, like why are you finding these same structures and these same poles way up here in North America that you found in, hundreds, thousands of miles away? It's not like these cultures could drive there. You got to figure they're like either traveling by horse or foot if they're carrying all these aspects of culture from North America to South America and so on and so forth. Like how are all these components of the culture showing up in different parts of the world, thousands of miles away?
I think it's aliens and anti-gravitational spacecraft that is transferring the same knowledge to people globally.
Probably so.
Follow the science, that's all.
Yeah, follow the science, bro. Believe the science, bro. What are you doing?
Speaking of science, they just found 17 small particles in East Antarctica on a flat-topped mountain called Walnum Figelet in the Sur-Rondane Mountains. These suggest that space rock shattered overhead about 430,000 years ago. And it's consistent across the stuff they found. Where was it? Matches proportions of elements found in a carbonaceous chondrite. They were rich in nickel and magnesium. Let me find this article to share to you.
Yeah, that one I thought I had it pulled up. I do not have that one pulled up.
That's okay. Similar particles were found 2,750 kilometers away at the same level in the core. Meteor that broke up in the sky was about 100 to 150 meters across. That's pretty big. The blast waves may have destroyed 100,000 square kilometers of ice. That explosion may have reached to 5,000 degrees Celsius and would kill 1 million people today. Holy shit.
Not good.
No.
And we're in a shooting gallery, right? These asteroids and meteors.
Yeah. It's really not much on this one other than
it
the
was
latest
pretty small,
finding.
but it's pretty amazing. So yeah, you had this asteroid explode above. So that's the weird thing. It didn't even make an impact from where this article is talking. Like it literally just exploded above Antarctica, fried 100,000 square kilometers of ice, broke apart, and then these small particles actually are what made their way down to Earth. As you can see, 100 micrometers. So it's pretty small components. Could you imagine if that happened today? Will we even see it coming?
No. It would be too late. You would look up and then you would just be incinerated by what you saw. It's basically what would happen. Like, what is that? Boom! And you're just burned from the top down. Just
And no one's surviving that. 5,000 degrees.
hey, what a way to go, though. You know, if I'm gonna die in a tragic accident, I'd rather die watching the most magnificent, brutal, cosmic event happen.
That's
You know
true.
what I mean? Like, oh, this
That's
shit
true.
is insane, and then I'm gone, ended on a high note. That's it.
Speaking of, this is not a cosmic event, but it's related. Did you see the whole shit with the China rocket pad?
No.
Oh my god.
You want to share that?
Yeah, hold on. Check this out. This is from a couple days ago.
Are you sharing it?
China. So rocket debris launched from China's space station launched falling back to Earth, but they don't know where it's falling.
Wow.
Large Chinese rocket is set to make an uncontrolled re-entry back into Earth's atmosphere. It's not clear exactly where or when we don't know where or when the debris is going to hit the Earth. It's falling unpredictably back to Earth. The 22.5 metric ton space module is in its correct orbit. Blah 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 blah. It will be the largest instances of uncontrolled re-entry of a spacecraft and could potentially land on an inhabited area.
Wow.
That's it. The more likely possibility is the core stage will fall in an uninhabited place like Earth's oceans, which is 70% of the planet. But we don't know. We're taking a chance. Like, fuck it. We'll see. Maybe it falls on your fucking house. Maybe it falls in the ocean.
If we made it to the moon,
We'll see.
if we made it to the moon in 1968, how are we still struggling to get rockets up?
Well, we're not struggling. They're just the rocket's up. They just don't give a fuck where the debris is falling.
But the debris is
They're
because the
plotting-
rocket crashed, right?
No, the rocket's in orbit. The rocket's fine.
What's the debris?
This is one of the stage. I guess that one of the stage boosters.
Oh
that
my god.
Drops off the rocket.
Okay.
So plotting your trajectory of the falling rocket stage is difficult, if not impossible, because there are too many uncertainties involved in calculating the effect of atmospheric drag on the core module. Earth's atmosphere can expand or contract with solar activity, making it hard to estimate exactly when and where the rocket will come down. So yeah, that happened this week too.
That's
Speaking of like going out watching something fall from the cosmos to fucking kill you or crush you, could you imagine that being the way you go out? You could either go out by this amazing asteroid that comes from the heavens and like ignites, hundreds of square kilometers of Earth, or because these fucking irresponsible Chinese assholes dropped the rocket stage booster, launching their space station, and it lands on your fucking house. So,
oh man. How do they get away with that? Like, how do you go forward with that mission knowing, like you said, like, fuck it. We'll figure that out.
The Earth's 70% ocean. Chances are there's only a 30% chance it's gonna fall on land.
Wow.
Fuck it. Who cares, right?
And nothing against the Chinese. We're just talking about the Chinese assholes in their space program. We love the Chinese people, and I was so sad to see Zhang Weili get knocked out by Rose Namajunas after Rose made those stupid I'm not a fan of Rose anymore after that stupid fucking comment she made. So fucking dumb.
What comment did she make?
She said, I know what Zhang Weili represents. She represents communism, and better dead than red. What a dumb fucking comment. Just because she's from China, I mean, she's communist. She's never made any political statements in any interview. And then Rose comes out and makes it political. Like she's not necessarily communist, and you can't even come out and criticize it. You'll go missing. So how do you know? It's fucking dumb. And then she knocked out Zhang Weili. It's like, fuck this. And then she, her whole story is like depression and mental illness and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, she starts crying, and then it's like the victim story again. And it's like, oh, I came back from depression. It's like, shut the fuck up. You were 22 when you made $500,000 fighting, and you've never had a job since. You're going to talk about, and you're the champ again. I'm supposed to feel bad for you. I'm 33 applying at Papa John's. I'm supposed to feel bad for a successful athlete who just made this dumb comment and is the champ again. Get the fuck out of here. I'm over Rose. Sorry, Rose.
That whole card was main card was a banger though, wasn't it? Like every fight on that card was dramatic.
Dude,
every fight on that card was dramatic. I watched it after the fact, but I went and watched them fight by fight. Oh, the leg break. Well, first of all, though, what was the first fight on the card with the guy's knee got jacked up.
Jim Crute.
Yeah, Jim Crute. Yes.
Yeah,
his
Anthony
knee got fucked. Then the leg break from Weidman. Oh my God.
I mean, that was spectacular on a few levels because Anderson Silva broke his leg on Weidman, and then Weidman broke his leg on the guy who knocked out Silva last. So Weidman knocked him out first, Uriah Hall knocked him out last, and then Weidman fights Uriah, and it's like this such a weird. Because that's like the rarest injury. There's only ever been 3.
And then like the first couple seconds of the fight, just like first kick. Boom.
Literally the first kick, 17 seconds in.
God, dude, it was so hard to watch.
Chris Weidman said the worst part about it was when he stepped back and his muscle pierced his bone pierced through his calf muscle. Can you imagine how much that hurts to step on a broken bone and it stabs your muscle?
It's bad when the UFC is just like they kept the camera on Uriah Hall. That's it. They did not want to show Chris writhing in agony on the fucking ground. They just stayed on Uriah.
That was bad.
Oh my God, dude.
That was bad.
Oh my God.
That was bad. And then Kamaru just lays out Jorge. That was surprising.
He laid him out.
I mean, fair and square put him out. And you got to wonder when a guy goes out like a sack of potatoes, what's that say about his brain state? Has Jorge taken too much damage and will he ever be the same?
He's been in the game a long. And in those backyard fights before fucking getting UFC, I'm sure he took some ridiculous damage back then.
It's like
he's
overnight.
always had a tough chin, but yeah, man, it's like I'm sure you get to a point where your brain can only take so much bruising and damage.
I mean, that was a good punch, too.
It's a safety mechanism in your body, right, where it just shuts your brain off to stop it from taking more damage. It was a beautiful punch, dude. The sweat flying, like the picture.
Dude, that was crazy.
It's crazy.
And Yuri Prohashka Saturday night laid out Dominic Reyes in the same way. You saw that spinning elbow?
Oh, I need to go back and rewatch those. I haven't been watching them live. I've been like catching the cards like after the fact and then go and watch them fight by fight. But I'm gonna go. I do plan to go back and watch that.
Ooh, yeah. Speaking of people that basically got murdered, the last article we have is the Deutsche Bank whistleblower goes missing. And this was
this is the son, actually, or stepson of, was it the CEO or was it the stepson of the CEO that had died and had obtained a bunch of emails and internal documents that were related to the money laundering allegations of Deutsche Bank. So then I pulled up that. I was like, what was that all about? Well, they were apparently they were funneling millions of dollars in bribes, millions of dollars in related expenses, like business development consultants that they were sending this money to, just basically financing all this illegal activity around the world. And they knew that these individuals were laundering money through their bank, and they allowed it to happen.
Yeah,
this poor guy. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, Deutsche Bank is the bank that Jeffrey Epstein notoriously worked with.
Yes, even though this article didn't call that out. Yes, and this guy was privy to all that, and so he blew the whistle on it, and now all of a sudden he is missing.
Since April 6th, his name is Val Broeksmit. He has been releasing his father's bank records to feds and media. His father, Bill Broeksmit, committed suicide in 2014.
he was found hanging by his wife. Like they killed his wife, hung her, and then hung him from his wife. No, I'm joking. It was his wife that found him hanging. He was reportedly anxious at that time because authorities were investigating areas of the bank where he worked. His last known doctor, this is the guy's dad, was in December 2013, where he was seen as having anxiety, but not rooted in reality. He was just kind of going crazy, just anxiety. The coroner said that his suicide note implied suicidal tendencies, and the coroner was certain he took his own life. He used his dog's red leash, slung it over a door, and lunged forward. And physics says it's impossible to hang yourself from a door because you don't get leverage. You can't.
Yeah, how does that work?
I think he was offed because I looked into the red scarf assassination thing. When people get assassinated by intelligence agencies or something, it's like a common theme for a red scarf, because Kate Spade, was it her? Kate Spade that was killed? She died, hung herself with a red scarf. Anthony Bourdain apparently did it with a belt. His belt. He used his belt to hang himself from his door. Like, none of this makes sense. These people were assassinated, man. You don't hang yourself with a dog leash over your... And the color red was just odd with the red scarf. There's some conspiracy in there, but... Yeah, there's an article. So he left suicide notes before he killed himself, and I found one of the suicide notes in a New York Times article. And I'll have this note under the podcast, the links. And the note wasn't really like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm killing myself. I am eternally sorry and condemned. So here we go. Ashnu Jain, who is the co-chief executive of Deutsche Bank. Ashnu, you were so good to me, and I have repaid you with carelessness. I betrayed your trust and hid my horrible nature from you. I can't even begin to fathom the damage I have done. I am eternally sorry and condemned. Bill.
That sounds like someone setting up like, he had a guilty conscience, so he killed himself.
That doesn't, I mean, why would you write a suicide note to Ashnu, the co-chief executive of Deutsche Bank? Maybe he did write one to his family, but I just couldn't find those. This is the only one.
I would write to my family, like what actually matters in fucking life, not people I work with.
Yeah, so his death he was kind of involved in a lot of the same things with Deutsche Bank. And we know a lot of people have been going missing surrounding the Epstein case, and all this connects back to Deutsche Bank. So yeah, a whistleblower went missing, and the kid who went missing, Val Brockschmidt, his dad apparently committed suicide in 2014 because of all this shit too. Committed suicide with my quote fingers.
We don't know he's dead yet. He's missing.
No, his dad committed suicide.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, in general, we don't know if he's dead yet.
Okay, what's the over-under on if he's going to come out having died from COVID?
Well, he's definitely going to have to come out. He's definitely dead. Like, yeah, this article hasn't said he's dead, but he's definitely dead. Now, whether they claim it's COVID or not, I don't know, man. I think this one might be a suicide, because it'd be hard for him to be like, he went fucking missing. He turned up now he's dead from COVID.
Well, that's what happened with the Magafuli case.
They're gonna suicide this guy.
That's what
happened with Magafuli, but
he went missing and then he died.
They were making an example out of him because he was painted as the COVID denier. So what a better way to fucking
right.
paint the narrative of him dying than he died from COVID.
Right.
This guy wasn't necessarily a COVID. They're gonna say he offed himself because he, I don't know, they'll pin some disgusting shit on him, I'm sure, to make him seem like a damaged and broken individual who just couldn't live with himself anymore, so he killed himself. That's what I guess. That's my bet.
I mean, of course, these people go missing and they commit suicide. We don't know the truth, but let's be honest, people. These are odd circumstances around people that these factions of power would like to see disappeared. Did that sentence make any sense?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
You
Well, I
know,
hope-
he was definitely talking to the media about this stuff. So there are definitely powerful people who don't want him illuminating that information.
Well, I hope we covered everything on this episode. I feel like we did. We got Apollo 8 conspiracy. We got a little mysterious structure on the moon. We got some anti-mask science from alt-right domestic terrorists out there.
Alt-right domestic terrorist. If you're anything but woke ideology, you're alt-right domestic terrorist now.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Good episode. Next week, are we doing the deep dive on Phil Schneider, or are we going to wait for another week on that? We could wait. We could push it back 2 weeks if you want to like do some more research on it.
Yeah, let's push it back because I got a shit ton of articles for next week already. I'll send them to you right after this, and then we can talk about Phil Schneider the one after.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So
check out Alfred and the Detonators. Go check out Gogothan. Check out Gogothan's Twitch, twitch.tv/GogothanTV.
Yep, and check out Death of Skepsis. We've had some listeners last month. I think some people from the podcast are checking it out. Death of Skepsis and Golgothan if you like death metal. Alfred and the Detonators if you like rock, indie rock.
Metamorphicon.
Yep, Metamorphicon if you like rap, hip hop. Also, Cool Deal. I just released a single, and I'm going to be releasing another one soon. The original theme song for this show will be released.
He's got bars, people. He's got bars.
I got bars. I got bars, and I got scars. Anyway, that was stupid. So, thanks everybody for listening. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it.
Definitely. This one was a perfect length, Dillon. 2 hours, 30 minutes on the mark. Perfect.
Boom. Thanks, everybody. That was fun, Jesse. Your mic's awesome. I like your standing desk. It works well.
Thanks.
Yep. And I'll let you know about the
Good job on everything. Yeah, just call me. We'll get it ordered for you. We'll ship it straight to you.
Cool. Peace, man.
Later, man.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.